Back on the air with H&L News, the intellectual arena where breakthrough discoveries collide with healthy skepticism. I'm H, and today we're diving into paradoxes. Why are quantum computers going mainstream while earthly science fights for survival? Buckle up. We're in for a ride from lab breakthroughs to political battles over NASA's budget.
More accurately, we'll discuss reaching the threshold of industrial production for quantum processors and the potentially catastrophic cut in funding for the American Space Agency's scientific programs, which is already sparking accusations of unconstitutional actions. But H's phrasing, as usual, is appetizing.
L, get ready. The company Diraq has for the first time manufactured quantum chips on standard factory equipment, and they show accuracy above 99%. That means quantum computers are no longer lab curiosities and are becoming consumer goods. Finally!
The excitement is premature. The achievement by Australian physicists and engineers from the IMEC Center is undoubtedly significant. However, a computer capable of handling millions of qubits won't become a consumer good anytime soon. For now, we're talking about stable production of 2-qubit systems. It's an important engineering step, but not a leap into a bright future.
But this is the bridge between quantum fantasy and our reality. Diraq's founder talks about a fully fault-tolerant computer. Silicon is the language our entire electronics speaks. If we've learned to embed qubits into it, this opens the way to mass scaling.
If is the key word. The lifetime of these qubits is measured in microseconds. For solving practical tasks like drug development, millions of stable qubits are needed. So your bridge right now looks more like an elegant tightrope walker over an abyss of technical difficulties rather than an 8-lane highway.
Skepticism is your middle name. And I can picture in about 10 years, a server with such a chip right here in the studio, calculating all your objections for the next 100 episodes in a couple of minutes.
Theoretically possible, but first, it would probably calculate the moment when your enthusiasm finally reaches thermodynamic equilibrium with the environment.
And while quantum technologies take timid steps toward mass production, earthly politics is giving a masterclass in slowing down progress. Our next story is about how paper tigers from budget committees threaten to tear the throats of real space dragons. The White House has proposed slashing NASA's science budget nearly in half, by 47%. At risk are Mars missions, telescopes, and even the program to return samples from Mars.
The situation is even more scandalous than it seems. The U.S. Senate committee accuses NASA of illegally implementing these cuts before Congress approves them, which could be deemed an unconstitutional action. Reports say an atmosphere of fear reigns in the agency.
Activists and science faces like Bill Nye are speaking out against this. Elle, doesn't this seem like a historic mistake to you, giving up on Mars samples that are already collected and waiting for us?
From a strategic management perspective, concentrating resources on one goal, for example, a crewed flight to Mars, has its logic. However, the chosen method, total zeroing out of dozens of programs, including those already in flight, like OSIRIS-APEX heading to the asteroid Apophis, is not management, but vandalism. This isn't optimization, it's amputation.
Exactly. At risk is the unique mission to Apophis, whose close approach happens once every 7,500 years, and the Nancy Grace Roman telescope, which was supposed to discover hundreds of thousands of exoplanets. We could lose a whole generation of discoveries.
And what's even more cynical is that this sets a dangerous precedent, where scientific priorities are completely replaced by political ones. At stake isn't just money, but the very role of the U.S. as a leader in space exploration. And it seems this role is hastily stepping off the stage.
Let's switch to other discoveries. Scientists have created an artificial neuron based on protein nanowires that can talk to the brain, interacting with biological signals.
A promising development for future neural interfaces in treating neurological diseases. Though considering how some biological neurons handle the simplest logic, the artificial one clearly has room for growth.
And here's a news bite for you. Researchers have shown that fungi appeared on Earth long before plants. Turns out they're the real pioneers of land, not just a pizza topping.
This really changes ideas about the early history of life, and if you think about it, it makes them an ideal metaphor for some resilient but low-profile government programs. They appear early, exist in the shadows, and feed on recycled organic remnants from past administrations.
And finally, an astronomical treat. A Russian international team has discovered the star system Gaia 19b/c, where two stars orbit each other with a record period of just 64 minutes. It's a dizzying waltz.
Yes, gravitational interactions in such a tight binary system must be exceptionally intense. It's a unique natural laboratory. And unlike earthly political dramas, this dance is at least predictable.
That's all for us. The week has proven that science is capable of quantum leaps, but it stumbles over budget potholes. Subscribe, like, and argue in the comments. What's harder, creating artificial intelligence or preserving funding for the real thing?
From a technical standpoint, the first is a matter of time and engineering. The second is a matter of political will, which, as we see, is a far more complex and non-deterministic system. Until the next episode.
Stay tuned. And remember, the universe is full of mysteries, but the biggest one sometimes is human logic.